we sat down with the creator of Hog Football Chat, Anthony Shiffman, to talk about how the chat came about, learning and developing as a coach, networking, the pin and pull scheme, and developing relationships with your players. This episode was recorded at AFCA with special thanks to Catapult for giving us the space to sit down and talk with coaches. We're at the AFCA sitting down talking ball with coaches, and sitting down with me is the creator of Hog Football Chat. So a lot of you know him from there, Anthony Shiffman. So Coach, great to have you here on the podcast.
I appreciate it. Thanks for sitting down with me.
So for our guests who maybe aren't familiar with you, maybe not offensive line guys familiar with the chat, just a little background on who you are.
Yep.
I know you got your start in high school ball,
Yep.
but tell us a little bit about how your career has progressed.
Yeah, sure. So, I got coaching a little bit late. I was late in the game. I wasn't right out of college like a lot of guys. I sort of went the private sector first and stagnant, didn't know what I wanted to do. And my position coach in high school, who was the head coach at the same high school, reached out to me and kind of said, "You want to come help out? You want to do this? This is, I need somebody. You're looking for work. Let's do this." And that sort of got the snowball going, where he saw how I was with the kids. He saw how I was as a coach, and he basically said, "You should be doing this. Why are you wasting time? And let's work on getting your teaching certificate." And so that sort of got the ball rolling a little bit. Spent 7 years there at Springfield High School, and then kind of went out and sort of played the nomad game a little bit. Went to North Carolina for a bit, went to Tennessee for a bit, was a head coach in Iowa, and then that got me to Lake Forest College, where I spent 3 years there, and then this past season at Elmhurst University. So,
and somewhere along the line then, Hog Football Chat popped up. So where was that in the process?
So that was in North Carolina. I can still remember the day. I was watching Michigan State versus Baylor in a bowl game, and started to follow along with the Texas High School Football Chat. And so just kind of got on Twitter. Really wasn't a big Twitter guy. Just sort of used it a little bit here and there, and started following along with that. And Jack Dingus reached out to me, and we kind of said, "Hey, we should do something for offensive." Originally it was going to be offensive and defensive line, and we tried a defensive line chat, and it bombed. And so we right away said, "No, let's stick with the O-line." So and that was 2015, I think March of 2015, and we've been going ever since, and it's been it's sort of taken on a world of its own a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I think what's unique about those things that you develop, and I did a few chats early on. I was doing a lot of writing, obviously publishing books for coaches, and I think through a lot of that, though, you started to develop this network where people recognize the name. Oh yeah, you're that
right.
guy. How do you feel that's helped just develop your career a little bit in your network?
It's definitely helped with my career. I think it's one of the big reasons I got the job at Lake Forest, honestly, was just because of that following, and it helps. It's so good with being able to reach out to guys and network and just do all those things, and so many people participate, and then there's so many other people that always tell me, "Oh, I follow along," or "Oh, I see it," and so it's just it's some sort of kind of, because jobs always change, and it's something where now that can be, people recognize me from that, and that can be kind of what I'm known for, I guess.
Yeah, and I know in starting that, for me, why did I get into it? I wanted to share ideas, right? And I think when you go into it with that idea, I'm going to help coaches instead of, in the digital space, people get in to make money,
right,
too, which is okay. But I think the guys who do best are the ones who say, "Hey, I'm going to do something that just helps us." So you have these situations, what I've seen this go to. We still go to these clinics, and we'll still sit down and watch videos for 45 minutes. But the micro learning situations,
yes,
I think you can pick up a lot from those. What have been some of the best things for you that you've learned that have helped you develop the Hog Football Chat?
Yeah, just being able to reach out. A lot of program building stuff, honestly, because we'll get into some different things, and we try to, inevitably we're gonna redo some topics and some questions. It happens. We've been doing it for 7 years, so there's gonna be stuff that kind of gets redone. But a lot of culture stuff, a lot of program building stuff, and then every now and again there's going to be a really good drill that somebody posts, or a really good play that somebody posts that I kind of I'll bookmark that tweet and go back to it later and try to kind of revamp it, rehash it a little bit for my own benefit. But there's this is something I always tell guys when they go to clinics, when young guys go to clinics, if you can get one thing, if you can take one thing from the clinic, it was a successful clinic. And my hope is that with the chat, if somebody can get one thing on a Monday night that they can use, one coach gets one thing, it's been a success.
Yeah.
And that's always the important thing for me.
With these, and there are some popular ones. I think everybody points to Texas High School Football Chat. Chris does a phenomenal job with that. But and just thinking back, and like I said, I did some of these in 2014 maybe. But I always thought that being in the video-driven world we are, et cetera, that they might not stick around.
Right.
But they've survived. There's some really good things going. Why do you think that is?
To be honest with you, these are questions that I've asked myself and other coaches. I don't know. And we try to kind of we want to be different too and post some videos and do some things like that. But at the end of the day, it's guys just are okay with the questions. I think it's just we've established ourselves enough. And I know Texas does. Chris, I like to refer to Chris as the Godfather because he started all of it. But he did such a good job, kind of just laying the foundation and building off of it. And that we followed his model. I mean, honestly, when we started the Hog Football Chat, we followed his model. I can look back and I remember talking to him saying, "How do you do it? What's your process?" And building that foundation. It's just become. Guys are so used to it right now, and we're trying to branch out. Like I said, try to do some videos and try to do some content, different content stuff with the chat itself. But at the end of the day, they're okay with us just going, question one, go, fire away, and so guys just like that. Yeah, definitely. Well, getting into some of the things you've done as a coach, you just mentioned the culture building stuff that you've picked up. Before we got talking, you really felt like just your ability to build those one-on-one relationships really is huge and really gets things started for you as a coach. Looking at that, what are some of the best things you learned early on as you're getting into the career to say, these are very helpful ways to build relationships with players? Yeah, I think one of the things that I don't know if I learned it or just kind of followed and watched along from guys that I've played for on all levels, but I try not to take myself too seriously. I mean, honestly, it's at the end of the day, it's a game. Now, I know, it's still jobs and it's still important to a lot of people, but the kids have to see that you're having fun too, I think. And if kids can see that we're having fun as coaches, they're going to have fun, and it's going to, just kind of build from that. And so I think trying not to take myself too seriously has helped. I'm sure it's hurt some stuff too, but just making sure that they can see that, I can stop and I can smile and I can enjoy myself for what we're doing, and it's not the end of the world if something goes wrong. It's not the end of the world if we lose a game. It happens. Let's focus on the next opportunity. So just making sure that they can see that we're having fun really helps out. Yeah, I think coaching D3 ball gives you some unique opportunities, and you still have to win. Right? Yes. It's a situation, I mean, maybe we're not on TV, right? But there's expectations. It's important to the college. Yes. And the meetings can at times get pretty tense, with coaches. Yes. But when you can get out to the field, to me, that was always the part of the day I could not look forward to getting on the field and into the classroom with the guys. Yes. Enough. And especially now you build those individual relationships, right? Then bringing that unit together, right? Yeah. That does make it fun for you. Absolutely. After you get those guys individually buying in, what are the keys to building that unit chemistry? Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Getting those guys to buy in first and foremost, getting them to understand that whether you're a four-year starter or whether you're a freshman who's never going to play, you're important. You belong in this group. Guys care about you in this group. Position group and the whole team group. Everyone cares about you. The coaches care about you. The coaches want to see you be successful off. For Division III, obviously, successful off the field. That's where that's all of our guys are going to go be professionals in something other than football, which is the cliche you've heard 1,000 times. But making sure that they understand that they're cared for, that their decisions are important, that we care about what they're doing on the field, off the field, at home, in the classroom, everywhere, and letting them know that if they mess up, they're not going home. we're not cutting their scholarship. We're not doing anything like that. If they mess up, we still care about them. We're still going to help them get better. And then, again, that once you start getting those guys that, especially for me, especially in the offensive line room, once they can get through that kind of uncomfortable first couple of days stage and realize that the guys are good guys and care about them, that's when you really start to see the relationships build, and that's when you start to see the total buy-in to not just the group, but the whole team and everything, the community, the program itself. Yeah. So those are you can really, as a coach, I'm sure you can see it. I mean, it's palpable. You can see it, and it's special when you see it.
Yeah, definitely. When you look at some of those best units you've coached, and you've had to bring them together. What things have you done to help create that identity? Because I think in coaching offensive line, I mean, you'll come up a little, with whatever branding you might have. Like I know at BW, one of my offensive line coaches, they were the Pit Bulls. Right. There was a group, before they kind of had a name, they just called themselves the Herd, right. And they kind of were because you would see them migrating across campus in a herd all the time.
Right.
So, I mean, if you
probably wearing shorts and sandals.
Shorts and sandals in the winter.
Yeah.
I mean, if you didn't know these guys were football players, you'd be wondering what's wrong with this. Is this a cult or what? What is this? But they would stay together tight like that. So for you, what have been some of the things you've been able to do, I guess, to help them latch onto that identity? They're going to build the relationships,
right?
But they still always, have something with, a brand, right?
Right.
What have you done with that?
And I think, you early on you have to find your identity, and I always try to find like a motto or a quote or something that sort of we would build off of. And so my first year at Lake Forest, I think we were the meat mob. And then we were ground and pound, and so trying to kind of establish that, and then I always found that food helps. Go to dinner, take them out. I try to sit with them in the cafeteria as much as I could, and just try to, again, part of that relationship building. Talk to them about not football.
Right.
Sometimes they don't want to talk about football because it's all they get, and so talk to them about class. Talk to them about their home life. Talk to them about their girlfriends. Talk to them about those kinds of things. So. That was always big. My wife, my last year at Lake Forest, made cookies every Thursday, and so that was something the guys would look forward to. They'd always ask about cookies and everything. So there's so many different ways to do it. It's again, going back to what I said, as long as they kind of feel special, right, things are good.
Right. Well, getting into the football side of things. Said pin and pull is something you get asked a lot about. It's kind of funny, I think back through my career, you do get identified with, you're the stretch guy, you're the outside zone guy, you're the four verts guy. Right. And they come back like, well, I thought you were throwing the ball all the time. You're running the ball all the time out. Honestly, I'm doing what's best for my kids.
Right.
And I'll go out and learn it and study the heck out of it. But, so pin and pull, though, is something you've become known for.
Yeah.
What do you like about it? What's your favorite thing about that concept?
Well, so pin and pull was something actually I was not real familiar with until my time at Lake Forest. And it was something that Coach Cat at Lake Forest he had found a way to kind of install it a couple of years ago, and it's sort of become their bread and butter a little bit. But I like getting it that it's, we treat it as our outside zone, but it's a gap scheme. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a gap scheme. It's guys blocking down, guys pulling out and around, and I really liked last year in the 2021 season because we could still cut out in space. And so it was always fun for me to kind of see that big roly-poly offensive lineman running downfield and chopping down a safety or a linebacker. But I just like I like getting those guys out there. It's old school football. I mean, at the end of the day, it's, you go back to the old Packers sweep. It's pin pull essentially. It's down, pull around. And so it's just, in my mind, it's one of the purest football plays there is. And really when you get those guys out there, those linemen pulling, those backs following them, it can be real pretty. Yeah,
and it takes on a lot of different names. Some people refer to it as box sweep. And true box sweep is the wing tee to me.
Right.
Misdirection player, you got someone running the trap, someone running the sweep, and the quarterback, waggle away, right? Trap, sweep, waggle. But pretty much I think guys are referred to anytime you're pulling the, both guards as the box sweep. But
our rules allowed the center to pull. We kind of preferred him. We felt he was closer to the front side. He was athletic enough.
Yeah.
Let's get him rather than that backside guard and just let that guy cut off. Plus, how we really set up, there was one guard who was just always a little bit bigger for us. We didn't necessarily want him pulling all the way around the horn.
Right.
So in your mind, what helps you designate, and maybe it is, like I said, just the type of personnel, but who you're going to want to try to pull on these plays? How do you like designating
that?
I
think play to the strengths, because we were very similar where we tried to pull guards, get the guards out, but again, like you said, one guard maybe isn't as good of a puller. Maybe the center's the better puller, and so we actually, again, Coach Cat and I, we looked back this past year in 2021. We looked back at the film and said, all right, we're not getting this second guy there because he's so far behind. Maybe the down block's not great from the center, and so he's not getting depth. Why don't we just cut him? Let's cut that guy down. Our center's the better puller anyways, and then do that. And so that's sort of how it evolved. But there's some tape, and I was just giving a clinic on this a couple weeks ago. There's some tape my first year at Lake Forest in 2019. We pulled the backside tackle, and he would beat the ball to the hole. He was that athletic, that fast. And so again, I always like to just say play to your strengths. If your front side guard and your center are your pullers, do it. Maybe it's your play side tackle, maybe it's you're going to pull him and cut somewhere else. Get your best guys out there, play to their strengths, and don't be so stubborn as a coach that you're trying to say, oh, it's got to be this, it's got to be this, that you're suffering for the play.
Right. Well, it's interesting too how plays make their way into playbooks, into offensive systems, and why guys use them. And I think the pin and pull, you have to understand how it's going to fit for you.
Right.
And so I'll go back to my time at BW. We're running a lot of one back power. We would see some 9, so that was easy to run one back power, but then we'd start to get the 7 technique and have that guy falling in on the play, and so we started using pin pull. Right. We would also run like zone away from it, so we want that feel on that 7 technique that our guy's trying to reach him and from the backside, cut him off or whatever, to keep him out there, right? If he starts fighting that to hold his gap. But truthfully, when we went to the pin pull, it was just such a good thing, and I wouldn't say we necessarily checked a ton of it, but basically, is if you were going to go inside or tight end with your defensive end, we're going pin pull and getting out there, and then we had three versions, and sweep, truck, and taxi, and all it designated though was how many people we were adding to it, right? And who was, I think it had a lot to do, if I remember how we were doing, who was the wall player, right? And sometimes it was going to be, I think our taxi play was we would motion the Z in and have him crack inside on linebacker, so he would become part of it too, and that was the different names just to designate some of the players getting into it. But again, for us, that was the purpose, right? You see wide zone teams now actually having that as part of their toolbox too. So, thinking about the purpose of the play, how you see it used, what's your recommendations on figuring out how it's going to best fit for you?
Again, I think it's who is your play to your strengths.
Yeah.
If you're coaching and if you got 5 offensive linemen who are big, sturdy guys that can pass protect really well and block ISO but can't move, don't pull them. Don't try to put a square peg in a round hole.
Right. Because
you're just going to end up hurting the team, hurting everyone else involved. And so just that's where the strengths of it come into place. That's why it was such a good play at Lake Forest, Division III school. You don't have 6'5", 320-pound offensive linemen. You've got 5'9" guys who weigh 240, who are athletic, who can get out there in space. Play to the strengths. Play to the strengths. Don't make it stubborn football where now you're trying to force them to do something that they can't do. And I think that's what you get some coaches that do that. Unfortunately, that I've always you kind of talk about. I've always done this. This is the way I've always done things. This is how we're going to do it. Well, then you're not successful. Why are you not successful? Because you weren't able to adapt. Then that's the big buzzword, I guess, is you have to be able to adapt your scheme. You have to be able to adapt to your players, and it might change year by year. But if you've got those, I think you said tools in your tool belt. If you've got those tools in your tool belt as a coach, where now you can change things up and not have to have a mass wholesale implosion, you're going to be successful, you're going to be okay, because those guys understand it and believe in it and can see the success from it.
Yeah, we were talking to, and I can't recall who it was during the season, if it was on the Mushroom Society series we're doing or OC Office Hour, but we talked about, especially for the zone teams, having some form of gap is such a relief on the center, that you can't always expect the center, for example, to reach all game long, right? If you're a wide zone team.
Right.
And you do see a lot of the wide zone teams now have this in their toolbox, and you can almost count on it watching some of the games, like, okay, they're going to give the wide zone some time to get it going.
Yeah.
But if it's not going, or if it does get going, you'll see pin and pull appear as the next thing in their attack. So just thoughts on that. What have you seen that more and more people who are wide zone teams adding pin and pull?
And I think because of what you said, it's an easy adaptable piece to it, where now they can get going and get that guy out there. And sometimes in the old in some of that wide zone stuff, you get those open bucket steps where they're almost pulling anyways to try to get that guy uncovered. So it's a natural progression for them to say, all right, you know what, bypass this guy here and just get around the edge, because they're blocked up. And so it's there's pieces of it that can be adaptable, which is great. And then guys, again, just playing to the strengths.
So, looking at the play, and I think you start to discover techniques that work a little bit better.
Yeah.
So in your evolution of the play, your learning of the play, what you teach now, what are some maybe 2 or 3 key coaching points for the pin and pull that will help get it going?
Yeah, for me, I always talk about the down block. The down block has been always the most important piece. It was something that my first year I kind of struggled with, just trying to figure out, all right, we're getting a lot of guys scraping over the top, and so I started to just look through some film, look through some clinic stuff, again, checking Twitter and Hog Football Chat for some things. But we take that play side hand and we really crash down the near hip, and that's been the biggest thing for us. And so there's a couple. I've shown some clinic tape of it where we've got our real good left tackle a couple years ago, where he's almost putting his hand under the butt and lifting, and that's one of the biggest coaching points I've had is that hard hip down block. I don't care where the head goes. I know there's a lot of guys that'll probably look at me like I'm crazy. I don't care which side the head goes. That hand on the hip has been the most important coaching point for me in the down block. And then really just the other big coaching point I always try to make sure guys understand is you're blocking a who. You're not blocking a why. You're not blocking a where. If you're supposed to be blocking the mic, go block the mic. If you're supposed to be blocking the Sam, go block the Sam. Don't worry about, oh, well, he wasn't there. Find him. Go get him and find him. And so that's kind of one of the other things I always try to preach to guys is make sure they understand it's a who, not a where.
Yeah. Looking at professional development, a big part of what you do, you have your Hog Football Chat to help coaches develop. What advice do you have for coaches out there to maximize their growth in this game and in their learning?
Yeah, I think, and we talked about it a bit. Don't be intimidated by logos. If there's a coach out there that does something you like, reach out to them. Find out how you can get in touch with them. Maybe it's not directly, maybe it's through another coach, maybe it's randomly walking up to them at the AFCA convention.
Right.
But reach out to those guys, because there's a lot of good people in this profession that are willing to help you out, that are willing to give you that information, that are willing to sit down with you and just you and him and talk football. And so those are super important pieces. Don't be intimidated by that logo. Don't be afraid to reach out to guys. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And I think young coaches especially would be. They'll be pleasantly surprised by how many good people there are that are willing to help.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think the thing you have to remember, like in our digital age where access has become much easier, is you still have to build relationships. I think I see too many guys just want to go accumulate content, knowledge,
right,
and oh, coach, can you give me this? Can you give me that? You know, guys sitting at the clinic, can I get your PowerPoint? Like, the best thing I heard was James Franklin on the clinic. He got that question, coach, can I get this PowerPoint? It's like, do you want our stuff? Come to Penn State, develop a relationship with us. We'll give you everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. We still have to keep that in mind. So while, you know, that has become easy, it still is about the relationship.
Yes.
And if you truly want to get the answers, if you want to get the good stuff, spend some time on that relationship.
Yeah.
Right? And guys will get to know you. I mean, one of my favorite stories Bob Wylie always tells is how, as a high school coach, he's coaching high school. He starts at Pop Warner. He's coaching high school. He reaches out to Jim McNally, you know, wanting to get some information, and I mean, and the rest is history. I mean, you know, Bob's
those guys are legends. Yeah, absolutely,
a legend in the game now with those guys, but it's exactly that. He wasn't afraid to reach out because those guys will share, and Jim still will share. I mean, if you want to get on the phone with Jim, he'll talk to you for hours.
Yes.
So, and he's still on top of the game and learning all this stuff.
Yes.
I think we had him on the Cool Clinic, you know, the first virtual one we did, and he's got little videos of him like blocking the clothes hamper in the bathroom.
I mean, he'll talk, and that's what I love watching him coach and talk about, because he's got such a passion for the game. I mean, he'll talk for an hour and a half on one double team.
Yes.
And it's interesting. That's the part. It's not you're not nodding off, you're not falling asleep. You're invested in that hour and a half that he talks about one down block or one double team, and it's awesome.
And that's a guy who's, you know, he's a consultant now and works with teams a little bit, but still actively learning and developing the game.
Yes.
At his age, that's how much there is to this too. So to think that, okay, I've got all this knowledge, or I got all my video library now, and I got it figured out. Maybe this year you have it figured out, but it's going to keep changing. You have to stay on top of it.
And that's again adapting. It's ever evolving. It's ever adapting, and just because you ran a play week 1 doesn't mean you're going to run that same play the same way week 2 even, and it's always changing. That's what I love about it. Truthfully, is that there's always something new. There's always somebody to talk to, and that's what makes it special.
You know, being at the AFCA, it's always cool to walk around and you say there's always something new, and you know. The technology side of the game that's coming into this, I think, opens up so many more avenues into understanding the game, learning about the game. You know, we're sitting here at the Catapult booth, and player data, right? And what you could do with that is amazing. And with any new technology, I mean, there's always the guys who, you know, they want to rely on, this is what I always did. But I think it's, you know, you look at how the game progresses now, it really moves quickly, right? In this era where, you know, you had to travel across the country maybe to sit down and talk to somebody to learn to pin and pull. Even 10 years ago. Now all that's instantaneous, but now the other data that you start to get to learn about the game and what's effective, you know, as you look at some of that and, you know, what's not on the horizon, I mean, it's right here. It's becoming very, very affordable across every level. How do you see that affecting the game, especially in terms of offensive line development?
I mean, it's just, I don't know if it's necessarily, I mean, it's definitely a good thing. It's definitely a good thing, because it's I think at the end of the day, it's just, it makes it easier for guys to be coaches. It makes it easier for guys to understand what we're doing, to understand what we're teaching. You know, if I'm going through a drill and I'm confused about something, or maybe I don't, and we kind of talked about it before, maybe I don't know what the drill is supposed to be, I can go reach out to whoever it is and find out about it. You know, I can get on YouTube and search something. I can get on Huddle and find something. I can get on any app now and find something, find about the why about it, the nuts and bolts of it if you want. And I think that's just, that's the best part about it, in my opinion, about the game right now, is that it's so open. It's so, and I think, I don't know if 3 or 4 years ago if it was that way. You know, there were still a lot of coaches that were doing it, but I think honestly, and I hate to praise the pandemic, but
it moved things ahead.
Yeah, I mean that when that happened, and you get guys like Justin Grandinetti, who was doing those free clinics, and you get coaches who were just so open to everything and anything. I mean, it really, again, I talked about this being a special profession. It really kind of put it over the top with that, about guys just being good guys and trying to help everyone out, and that, you start to see all those apps and all the communication pieces, guys tracking nutrition and tracking sleep patterns and tracking all this stuff, and so it's kind of everything's right there now.
Well, I think if you can embrace the tools that are out there that are help giving you this data, to me it's always always goes back to the player.
Yeah.
Why do I do this? Why am I learning this? Why am I putting time maybe in investing in some of these things? Because it's the best for the player. It's what's going to make him better.
Yeah. And
ultimately, that you can give him, at your absolute best, give him all the information he needs to make him better.
Yes.
The experience for him, he's going to leave the game, like you said. All these guys, ball ends for everybody at some point.
Yes.
But it's going to really add to the value of that experience for them and how it builds their future.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they can go out, if they can leave their experience in football and really have a smile on their face and really value the relationships they built, B, the information they've taken in, and just the hopefully the fun times they've had, then we've done our job.
So as we finish up here, what's going to happen here with Hog Football Chat in 2023? What are the plans?
Kind of status quo. We're hopefully going to do our clinic here in a couple months. Last year we didn't have one because of COVID, obviously, and then the year after we played in the spring, so we were not able to do it. So last year we were able to get it back in person. We were real happy about that, and then hopefully this year we can kind of get it back springboarded again. But other than that, we're gonna have some fun on Monday nights and talk about offensive line and get some coaches learning some information and networking a little bit.
Awesome. We'll have to have we'll put the information out there when you do figure out when that clinic's going to be, and we'll make sure we share that. So looking at all the things you do, Coach, on or off the field, and I think I know what your answer is going to be, but what would you say is the one thing that gives your guys, your players, the winning edge?
I think we talked about a bit the relationships. I think those guys, the guys that I coach, whether I coached them last season or in 2007, my first year, they know that I truly care about them, and that if they need something, if they need anything, I'm a phone away, a phone call away, a text away, anything, and I'd be willing to do anything for those guys. And I think understanding those relationships, that's what I really value. That's what I really enjoy the most about the game. And
for our listeners who don't know, give them your Twitter handle so they can follow it.
So Twitter handle is @CoachShiffman, SHIFFMAN. I am on there probably way too much, but you can reach out to me. You can shoot me a message. I'll get back to you. Love talking football with anybody. Love getting on a Zoom. Love getting, sitting at a whiteboard and talking football with anybody that wants to talk it.
Yeah, well, thanks for taking the time to talk with us today at AFCA.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you again for listening to the Coach and Coordinator podcast. Be sure to check out all we're doing at coachandcoordinator.com. Check the show notes both in the description and there to see related episodes like our talk with Texas High School Football Chat creator Chris Fisher, as well as a sit-down we had with Georgia Tech Director of Applied Sports Science, Ryan Horton, and now assistant at Florida, Yusuf Shakir. We have a lot more great interviews with coaches and those close to the game coming your way. Follow me on Twitter at Coach K. Grabowski.